Good morning, everyone, and a good day to everyone who may be joining us from the East Coast. My name is Ali Pabrai with EC First. Really excited. I'm excited all the time. Really excited to be here for this high trust certification opportunities webinar. What gets me even more fired up this morning is we are thrilled to be collaborating with High Trust to deliver this webinar with Mr. Ryan. Ryan does this all the time. He's like a superman in the High Trust ecosystem. Um, we're going to start in about 60 seconds. John will launch the webinar, and then Ryan and I will dive right in. Control your excitement. Please do send us your questions. We'll try. We've requested John to interrupt the presentation as questions come up. We want to try and make it as interactive as possible.
Yeah, as
We've
we're
got
getting close to that top of the hour start, I'll just ramble a bit here quickly, Ali. Number one, and I'll echo your sentiment. Many thanks to Ryan, whose time is very well spent throughout the course of a business day. I can't even imagine, but to the High Trust team behind the scenes, it also puts in a lot of effort to make these webinars of value. Similarly, I'll be selfish and mention that the EC First team, let alone with Ali leading from the front, but behind the scenes also putting in time and effort to make this webinar of value. As Ali had mentioned, as we've hit the top of the hour, I'll welcome all in attendance. Thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us. Number one, questions throughout the course of the webinar. We're going to be moving very quickly. I will monitor chat. If there's a break, if time allows, I will interrupt Ryan and or Ali to pose said question, but don't hesitate to pose your question. If you don't get that response during the delivery, we will respond individually. I will conclude and then hand off to Ali so we can get kick-started, but I will state that this presentation slide deck will be sent in full to all attendees here today, so no need to even ask. It's going to be coming out post-delivery almost immediate. So with that said, number one, thanks again to all attendees present. You're here with EC First in collaboration with High Trust, and if I am selfish in mentioning EC First presence in the space, let alone are we recognized external assessor since 2016, but we practice what we preach. We've been carrying our R2 certification throughout our tenure with High Trust. So that is what we bring both sides of the fence to our client base. Ali?
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate it, and a warm welcome, Ryan. A warm welcome to all the attendees across the country. We've got many covered entities, business associates, hospitals, health systems, and organizations across different industries. So let's just jump right in. The focus of this webinar is to talk about the state of high trust in the industry today. High trust provides many opportunities for in terms of bringing credibility to a compliance and cybersecurity program. I think as we look, no matter what business you're in, no matter what industry you're in, small, medium, large, across different industries, all businesses are at the crossroads of cybersecurity and compliance. And in the middle of it, in the thick of it, is high trust. And why does high trust become important? Because all businesses are surrounded by risk, cyber risk, compliance risk, and high trust provides an opportunity for businesses and organizations to establish a program that delivers resilience. So to me, as an expert and the team here at EC First, we always believe in transforming the journey of risk into one of resilience. And that's where businesses need to be. And that's what high trust brings with certification. Certification is important because it establishes credibility, it establishes thought leadership, it establishes your brand, that you take this space very seriously, that you take that risk and you want to mitigate that risk very seriously. Let's move on to the next slide, and everyone will be getting a copy of these slides if you at the end of this presentation. One thing I did want to mention, we are super thrilled about it. There's a T-shirt from Team EC First. In God we trust. The rest we audit. What could be more exciting? So this T-shirt is complimentary. Send an email to John Shalowitz, and he'll be happy to get you the T-shirt. You'll have everyone's email addresses at the end of this webcast, and but do get a copy, do get that T-shirt, make that request. Now, why EC first for HITRUST? Very, very quickly. We eat, drink, sleep, everything HITRUST. And HITRUST provides a lot of opportunities to establish a credible compliance program, a program that delivers confidence to the stakeholders. You have stakeholders inside the organization, senior leadership, the board of directors. We are presenting to them all the time. But then you also have your partners that you work with, and you want to give them confidence, the third parties that you work with, as well as others. So I'm not going to walk through this, but through this about 9 to 10 year journey, it's very, very important to see that we have been embedded deeply in this high trust space, and many, many organizations that we are working with have successfully achieved high trust certification and continue to maintain that high trust certification. So we like to keep it very simple. We want to talk about high trust industry standards. Many of you that are on this webinar are looking to potentially, you've been on the fence, you're potentially looking to move in the direction of acquiring high trust certification. We want to talk about why high trust, what are the high trust certification options. AI is around us. We are already beginning to see it. High trust has been at the forefront in terms of its products and solutions in the AI space. We definitely want to raise awareness because this may be an area that you invest in 2026 with respect to AI. I want to talk to you about AI governance. There are standards and guidance documents as it relates to AI in the compliance and cyberspace. We want to establish what those are, both inside the US. I was in Europe recently in Ireland, and there's a lot going on with the EU AI Act as well over there. There's a lot going on in the Middle East and other parts of the world. So we want to reflect on that, and then we want to close this with next steps. Where do we go from here? We are in Q3 of 2025. Before the end of the year, what are some of the things to think about in terms of options, what I call options and opportunities? So let's take a look at high trust, the state of where kind of high trust is today, and the breadth that high trust covers in terms of the certification opportunities. So at a very high level, for those of you that some of you may be aware of it, some of you may not, but at a very high level, there are three specific certification opportunities associated with high trust. The E1 is the entry level, and we'll talk about each of these so that by the time the webinar ends, you at least have a good understanding of the distinctions between the three. E1 is a good space to start with if you haven't already achieved high trust certification. The next one would be the I1 and the R2. The R2 is the most comprehensive, provides the most flexibility, and also the certification itself is valid for a 2-year period. What could be more exciting than the things that you see on this slide? It all looks very complex and complicated, but every row is so important. And I want to draw your attention to a couple of things because the future is now, and now is high trust with AI. So, for example, when you think of AI, look at row number 31, ISO 23894. So there are certain bodies of work that are really important, and those are already integrated within the high trust CSF 11.5.1. That's what are the various, what high trust refers to as authoritative sources. Now, these sources are in the US as well as sources that are outside of the US. So, for example, if you look at number 16, 1.6, GDPR, European Union, if your organization is looking to address those requirements, you can integrate that within the scope, for example, for an R2 certification. I also would like to draw your attention to row 42, 42, NIST AI RMF 1.0. This is the standard, really super critical in terms of the AI ecosystem in the US. It's industry neutral, and it's already built in, integrated within the high trust CSF body of work. So, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is how do we address some of the forthcoming AI associated risks, and ensure that the organization is prepared to mitigate those risks. So you can see lots of different opportunities to customize your HITRUST certification program as you get deeper in the HITRUST ecosystem. So let's take a quick look at these three different certification options. And as we go through it, you'll see that within the E1, there are opportunities to take it further. Same thing with the I1 and as well as the R2. E1, and here it consists and inclusive of 44 controls. So that number is important because those are the controls that have to be met. Now, for those organizations that uh, are not HITRUST certified at this point, this is a good program to get started with. The certification itself is valid for 12 months. Let's go to the next slide. There are a couple of things I wanted to point out. And you can see that these certifications kind of all build on each other, so that you have a roadmap to where you are. So for example, an organization may be thinking about, let's start with E1 in 2025, let's achieve E1. It may take 6 to 9 months, whatever the timeline, depending on how prepared your organization is. That can feed in and evolve the program in 2026 into an I1 at some point. And then once that's done, and you've established what I call the concrete and steel, at that point, now you can customize, because you may need to meet PCI requirements or GDPR, or there may be other specific compliance mandates, CMMC, or whatever it might be. You can now tailor that once you get to the R2. But the E1 and the I1 provide opportunities to lay the foundation for a cybersecurity and compliance program.
Yeah, the one thing I'd add here, Ali, is, what I tell folks is the E1 controls are, as you mentioned, the essentials. Like, this is the floor. And if you're not doing these 44 things, you need to rethink your life, because you're going to invite headache and heartache into it in the very near future. These are the bare minimum, the basic hygienes, like washing your hands after using the bathroom or before you eat food. This is what you should do to stay healthy. So these are, publicly available. People can look at them and see how well they're scoring against them, or how they feel they're mature against them, and then work from there. But this is what everybody at minimum should be striving for.
Yeah, and I think it gives, to your point, Ryan, and thank you for sharing that, I think it gives confidence. I think a lot of it, we live in a world where the risk is rising. AI is adding rocket fuel to that risk, disruption, and all of that in terms of the attack vectors associated with AI. And E1, like you said, it's the basic, it's the foundation that you want to make sure that organizations do that. And I think a lot of it comes down to, at the end of the day, we deliver a lot of board level senior leadership presentations, and it all comes down to two words: confidence and credibility. And the E1 is the starting point to establish that confidence, to establish that credibility. Now, here, I want to add that E1 now, recently, HITRUST provides the opportunity to add AI controls within the scope of the E1 certification. And this is important because your organization itself may or may not be doing specific things as it relates to AI. We know that many organizations are looking to integrate AI functions and capabilities in terms of customer care and different areas, patient care, etc. However, your third parties, those products or vendors that are connecting into your environment, may have AI controls in their ecosystem. So you want to make sure that you have a program that is addressing the risks associated with AI, and the E1 provides an opportunity to do that. Then moving on to the I1, so that's a significant leap, if you will, going from 44 controls, like Ryan had mentioned, to 182. Now, it could be that you decide that we're going to start out with the E1 44 controls, and then in year 2 you add AI to it, and that may add some number of controls to it, and then the year 3 you move on to the I1. It really is something that you've got to think about, what is in the best business interest and your objectives with your compliance and cybersecurity program. But as you can see on this slide, the 182 controls have come in from these source authoritative these authoritative sources, including the NIST publications, HIPAA, GLBA, and others as well. So it definitely takes the foundation, as Ryan had mentioned, and elevates that because now you've significantly are looking at a lot more additional controls and requirements that have to be met. And
Before we
here the
jump into the
headline.
rapid research, Ollie, if I can jump in real quick before we get into the rapid research portion, I want to point out something that is kind of behind the scenes that's happening that you all will benefit from. On a monthly basis, HITRUST is ingesting threat intelligence, threat data, and we're mapping that off of the MITRE attack framework. So we're looking at, okay, this exploit or this vulnerability was exploited. MITRE says these are the TTPs that the malicious actors are using, and then they have recommended mitigations. And we're looking at all of that and then bouncing it off of the E1 and I1 control sets on a monthly basis and making a determination. Do the controls that we have in scope of those assessments today actually protect against the threats that are happening in the wild today? And if we identify whether it's a flat out control gap or an element of an existing control that is just not meeting the mark, we will make adjustments. So all assessments after that fact will then be protecting against what's happening in the threat landscape today. So in comparison, if you're a SOC 2 shop, if you're a NIST shop, if you're an ISO shop, you've got PCI, whatever it may be, none of that is happening. The controls were built years ago. It's not accounting for the threat landscape. And I'm not here to talk badly about those other frameworks. There's lots of merits for them. But if you are truly trying to protect against what is happening today, HITRUST is the only option that offers that to you. And because the E1 and the I1 are nested, and the I1 is nested into the R2, all three assessments take advantage of this service. My guess, based on my experience talking to the market, the overwhelming majority of you out there probably don't have the knowledge, skills, expertise, resources, time, labor to be doing that analysis as frequently as we're doing it. So it's a value add that you're getting. So you pursue HITRUST, you achieve this standard, but you're also gaining that level of extra confidence, as Ali is talking about, that extra credibility that the controls that you've been certified against actually are going to protect you and reduce your risk.
Thank you for sharing that, Ryan. And so the E1 and the I1 certifications are valid for 1 year. That's the duration. I think it's very important to understand that because, like Ryan mentioned, these things change. But also in year 2, if you're looking at with the I1, you have the option to pursue what is referred to as rapid certification. So that opportunity does in fact exist. So we always encourage when we are working with clients to think long term, in terms of not just in weeks or months, but think in terms of what should your roadmap be over the next year, over the next 2 years or 3 years, and then kind of see how can we best navigate cost effectively, time effectively. And so one option maybe you start with an E1, you evolve that to an E1 plus AI because there is more integration of AI into different aspects of the business. And then you grow that program into the I1, and then you have an opportunity to pursue I1 rapid certification the year after. So there's a lot of options there. And an external assessor like an EC First, and there's several external assessors out there. It's an important conversation to have as you're looking to think about, what should your roadmap for HITRUST be. The R2 is ultimately kind of where organizations should be after they've established the foundation, because it gives you the most flexibility in terms of where you are and where you may need to be. It also provides opportunities to address state mandates. Several different states have mandates that go a lot further. Recently, what we have seen at EC First, especially, I live in the state of California, so we've got a lot of data and security regulations in California. Ryan is in, I think Ryan is in Texas, right? Ryan, you're based in Texas? No, you're not. That's how much HITRUST is based in Texas.
Yes, HITRUST is headquarters just outside of Dallas. I live in Northeast Florida.
Florida. Okay. I assumed you were in Texas. Everyone's all over the place. But the point being, Texas, California, New York, some of these states have more stringent requirements than, for example, HIPAA made. And especially with New York, we've been studying New York a lot recently. They've got several advanced requirements related to AI, related to hospital mandates, something similar to what we're going to see with the HIPAA security NPRM. But R2 gives you the most flexibility, and also that certification is valid for a 2 year period. In the second year, you have to perform what is known as an interim certification. And then those requirements, we've been talking about numbers 44 for the E1, 182 for the I1. For the R2, that typically varies between 300 to 500. That's the range that we typically see organizations in terms of the number of controls. Some may have more, some may have a little less. But R2 is really a comprehensive certification option. And here is some of the information that I've already talked about. Year two is referred to as an interim, and that's typically after the end of the first year. Within the first few months, you can accomplish that. So let's talk about AI. We see a lot of AI. Everyone is looking at it, and we want to take a look at some of the. Go ahead, Audra. We want to take a look very specifically at some of the opportunities that HITRUST provides. I think in this case, HITRUST has really been in the forefront in terms of AI, has invested heavily over the last 12, 18, 24 months in terms of all the research and the work that has been done by HITRUST. But at a high level, HITRUST gives you opportunities in the AI space on two fronts. One is assessment, to kind of just assess, to take a look at the state of where you are, what are the gaps from a risk perspective with respect to AI. And the total number of requirement statements, the number 51, is spread across the four different assessment domains, if you will. So it is something that we at EC First highly recommend, is to establish a baseline, perform a high trust based AI risk assessment to kind of identify the gaps where you may need to focus in 2026 to elevate your and mitigate elevate your program and mitigate the risks associated with AI. Anything, Ryan, from your perspective with respect to high trust in AI? Because I know there's been so much going on with high trust in AI generally.
Yeah, I'll just offer some context. So in the end of 2023, we launched a industry working group, and it was cross industry, likes of Microsoft, AWS, Johnson & Johnson, Databricks, a couple others. Launched this working group to figure out how do we build an AI security assessment, because AI was generally new to the overwhelming majority of the population. So they worked for about 15 months on what this assessment should look like, what the controls should look like, and they developed a draft set of controls, and then we published it publicly for the world to comment and give us feedback. We did that in the September of 2024, got tons of feedback from across the globe. Hey, this looks good, you missed this, or you need to tweak that. So we took all of that information and finalized the control set. I offer that because HITRUST isn't here trying to make things up in a vacuum and say these are the controls that are most important. For our normal security certifications, we're letting the threat data inform us, like I've already mentioned. We'll do the same for AI as more AI-related threat intelligence becomes available. But we're trying to work with industry and the market to understand their perspective on what's important. So I think our control set is pretty comprehensive. People frequently ask me, well, should I do ISO 42001 or should I do the HITRUST AI security certification? And the question comes down to business drivers and what's important to you, but you can also do both. They're not necessarily competitive. They do different things. ISO 42001 is very high level. It's around AI risk management and the management systems and the governance of it, whereas the HITRUST controls are very granular. This is how you are going to harden this AI system. These are the specific security controls and how to configure them to protect that system. So you can do both, or you can make a business decision on what's important to you. So just offer that as context.
No, thank you, Ryan, for sharing that. And just to continue that point of what Ryan just established is that Ryan talked about it's very granular. That was a key word. It's very specific. And that's the number that you see on the screen. 83 specific requirements, and this relates to cyber risk that an organization may have or have exposure to as a direct result of AI. And HITRUST has organized its the CSF content around 19 assessment domains, 12 of which are identified here. So these 83 requirements are spread across 12 assessment domains. And this is something that I think every organization, as you look ahead to 2026, should be thinking about is what is the state of our organization's preparedness, our readiness as it relates to the risk from AI, the risk from AI. So those are 83 very specific. Now, you do have the options by looking at E1 and some of the certification options that are out there with HITRUST to see can you marry this with those certifications. Those are there, and these controls are then added to that baseline control set. So on the left side, I want to kind of think of this. We've got about 300 seconds left. Things are moving at a fast pace here. We appreciate everyone joining in here today. On the left side is the methodology in terms of EC First, our secret sauce. We really believe in knowledge transfer. Anytime we think that a client is going to be starting this journey with HITRUST, we encourage a strategy workshop, invite all the stakeholders on all sides. The more information that can be shared, the more knowledge transfer that can be shared, the less friction, the less surprises and shocks in the journey ahead. Scoping is very important to understand what's included in scope for a HITRUST certification, and equally important, what's excluded from that scope, to be very precise with scoping. Identification of what are not applicables, inheritances, because like Ryan had mentioned, you may be working with AWS or Azure or other cloud service providers. Can you inherit? Because if you can inherit, then that reduces the time and effort and energy, because you can absorb some of that. Policy procedure development, guided readiness, pre-validation guidance, review of all your artifacts. That's where your evidences are. And for example, you can't have evidences that are too new, just created those 2 weeks ago, or that may be too old, that those are 18 to 24 months ago. So to ensure that you've got the appropriate body of evidence, what we refer to as BOE, body of evidence, these artifacts, any type of remediation that may occur. And then 6 is very important because that's typically a 90-day window when the actual validation efforts happen. Everything before that is you're preparing to get to that validation point. And then once the validation is complete, an external assessor like an EC First submits that body of evidence of all of the work inside my CSF to HITRUST for their review of this work that has been done. From an AI perspective, if you look on the right side, just thinking ahead, I think it's very important organizations become more knowledgeable. Ryan talked about 42001 in terms of ISO. We've got the NIST AI RMF 1.0, which is baked into the CSF standard. Knowledge acquisition is very, very important. So make sure that takes place, identifying your AI assets, the scoping, developing your AI plan and policies. We are working with a lot of clients right now on number 4 right now in terms of helping them articulate their plans and policy, performing cyber assessments to identify AI risks, mitigation of that, and then ensuring you're treating this as a life cycle. So very quickly, just everything now on one slide where you can see the options and the opportunities. And for us, we cannot emphasize enough, HITRUST does provide confidence to the stakeholders, and it does provide the foundation for a credible cybersecurity and a compliance program to an organization. Here are some of the facts that have come out, and let's skip this slide. Everyone will have this slide. We could talk more about this, but I wanted to point. Let's go to the next slide. Ryan, I wanted if you can spend 15, 30 seconds or a minute on this trust report, because I know this is very new. This has come out, and I think there's a lot of value in this report. If you can share information about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 2025 report is the second report we put out. So we put out one in 2024, which encapsulated the data from 2022 to 2023. The 2025 report is looking at the data that we had for 2024. And some key highlights or key metrics came out of this, which were on the previous slide. So I'll just point them out really quickly. Less than 1% of HITRUST certified environments experienced a security incident slash breach in 2024. When you look at the average surveyed breach rate, it's somewhere in the 40 to 60% of organizations globally have experienced some kind of incident or breach. So we're dramatically below that. And I think it's because of all the things we've said so far. We're following the threat landscape. We're following the threat data, tell us what's important. And then we have this really rigorous QA process, which we put on top of all the great work that Ali and his team do in getting you prepared and getting you tested and validated. The second thing is, and I think this is important, and then I'll stop talking because I know we're short on time, is if you look at the right side of this slide, 54% fewer corrective actions are needed for repeat HITRUST certifiers. So what does that mean? HITRUST is becoming a forcing function because you actually have to close gaps in order to maintain your certification. So you're improving over time. And nothing else out there is really doing that for you. You have to do that on your own, whereas HITRUST becomes that forcing function. So there's a lot of interesting facts and tidbits. It breaks down what assessments people are gravitating to more, what are the demographics of the current organizations that are HITRUST certified, and a ton more.
Thank you, Ryan. Very good. So we'll wrap up this webinar. Just a couple of things, and then I'll transition quickly to John. Please email John, and you love this T-shirt. And God we trust, the rest we audit. Also, we'd be happy to bring this webinar to you, customize it at no cost, complimentary. If you'd like your senior leadership or the stakeholders to listen to it, come back and customize it if you want it to be focused on E1 or I1, we can do that very easily. But we look forward to hearing from you. Please share your comments, send your questions. We were not able to get to the questions, but send your questions. We will collaborate closely with Ryan and his team. He has access to all the resources within HITRUST. Cannot thank him enough. They've always been very responsive to any request that we've had, as well as the team inside EC First. I cannot thank enough. We've got many on the call today, including Mike Turpin and Dave and Nate, Will, so many others, Audra and Casey and Debbie, etc. Full team to support the efforts. With that, John, take it over. Control your excitement. Don't be drinking.
Ali, Ryan, thanks again. Thanks again to the teams at HITRUST and EC First that make webinars like this possible. As Ali had mentioned, reach out to me direct. That T-shirt is yours. Quite simply an email with size, physical address. It's coming your way immediately. Ali mentioned too, let's customize and make this webinar unique to you, unique to your environment. If we can emphasize in any specific areas, let's have that exploratory conversation and let's make it happen. That being said, I'm coming close now to concluding, reminding everybody that we're very thankful. We don't take it lightly that people find time in their days to join us. All attendees here will receive the presentation slide deck immediately following, and we here at EC First look forward to wherever you are on your journey. If you're currently certified, if you're currently going through an interim program, or if you're simply trying to find out which certification levels at E1 or I1 make sense to you, we are the external assessor organization to reach out to and have those exploratory, deep dive conversations to make.
And John, sorry to interrupt, but I have to say I love the emojis coming in. Keep the emojis coming. Love it. And send us your evaluations, what we did well, what we did not do well, so that we can continue to fine tune and improve as we go through. Yep. Love it. Keep clapping, be excited, don't be drinking. And I'm also very excited to introduce the newest member of the EC First team. Ryan, you don't know this. It's right there on your slide. It's Bailey. Bailey is the name that Ben Miller on the team and others came up with. We spent a lot of time designing the logo for Bailey, our AI-powered assistant. very excited to be here, and we hope we have the opportunity to work with all of you on your HITRUST journey. Thank you, Ryan. Thank all your members of your team on behalf of EC First. We're always humbled, always appreciative. Ryan is the HITRUST Superman.
Keep an eye out, folks. ecfirst.com for our webinar series on the website. Outside of HITRUST topic matter, HIPAA, CCMC, etc., breach awareness, risk awareness, etc. We look forward to providing more and more knowledge transfers as we close out the calendar year and we start to build the 2026 calendar. With that, it's very hard to follow up after Ali, but we'll once again say thank you for all attending and looking forward to following up with you, and see you next time.